Several states have passed laws this year barring transgender children from playing on sports teams that align with their gender identity. Now those laws are being challenged in court. Politico education reporter Bianca Quilantan has been following these cases. She joins me now from Washington. Bianca, which states are enforcing restrictions for transgender athletes, and what's their reasoning for doing so?
There are several states that have passed restrictions on transgender students this year. This year, Mississippi, Montana, Florida, West Virginia, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Alabama all signed transgender athlete restrictions. Idaho last year was the first state in the nation to pass this sort of restriction. These states are saying that they are trying to protect women's sports. They say that by allowing transgender students to play on these teams, women and girls are put at a disadvantage during competition.
Which of these states are currently facing lawsuits now?
At least 3 are facing lawsuits, and we could expect more. Right now, there's a lawsuit against Idaho, and that law has been paused for the past year. And then there's also a lawsuit in West Virginia and one in Florida. All of these lawsuits have been passed or have been introduced by these civil rights groups on behalf of transgender student athletes that want to play sports. The latest news today was that West Virginia actually had their law paused by a federal judge. The federal judge granted a preliminary injunction saying that this law will be paused while the lawsuit is ongoing, so that Becky Pepper Jackson, an 11-year-old transgender student, can play cross country this summer and fall.
Bianca, the states facing lawsuits specifically prohibit transgender girls and women from playing on female sports teams. Why are girls' sports teams specifically being targeted, and are there similar restrictions for transgender boys and men?
So far, it seems like the restrictions are just for transgender girls and women, which is at the heart of a lot of these lawsuits. So they're saying that, the states are saying that these athletes have some sort of advantage over, women and girls who are born biologically women and girls. And so we're seeing that these states are just trying to even the playing field, though that argument is not being accepted in court so far. In today's filing, the judge said that he doesn't believe that this is, he's not taking it at face value, saying that this is meant to protect women and girls sports. So, they say that there might be signaling out the transgender students, which could be discrimination.
And the lawsuits are happening in both directions. A conservative nonprofit is suing Connecticut's High School Sports Authority for allowing transgender students to participate on women's sports teams. What more can you tell us about that?
This lawsuit was actually first. These girls on this high school track team decided to file a lawsuit with the Alliance Defending Freedom, saying that they had lost out on medals or honors in track because they were competing against a transgender athlete. And so far that case had been tossed, but they're appealing this to the Second Circuit.
Several courts have deemed it unconstitutional to bar students from bathrooms that align with their gender identities. What are the arguments that people are making as to why sports teams are any different?
So this argument is actually going to be the core of what courts decide. We've seen in the past with the Gavin Grimm case that the Supreme Court decided not to take up this year, that transgender students are allowed to use bathrooms that, that go with their gender identity. That has been a ruling in several circuits now. And so basically what we will see in the months to come is whether or not this precedent set by these bathroom cases will also apply to sports.
And Bianca, as you know, earlier this year, President Biden issued an executive order prohibiting the discrimination of transgender people. Will schools be able to comply with both these state restrictions that you're talking about, as well as the federal mandates? And then what happens if they aren't able to comply with both of them?
So many of these states actually advanced their laws blaming President Joe Biden's January executive order.
Right.
And that executive order aimed to promote inclusion for transgender people. And the Department of Education changed its definition or interpretation of Title IX to include discrimination against gender identity, and sexual orientation. So basically, what we're seeing is that these schools are kind of in a hard place right now. Title IX, if you're not following Title IX, you could have your funding, federal funding, taken away. And so typically schools are more of a, state by nature, local by nature, and so they will follow their state statutes before the federal government. But we have yet to see how the Office for Civil Rights and the Education Department will enforce this interpretation of Title IX while these laws are being implemented. And most of them have taken effect this month.
All right. Bianca Quilantan, thank you.
Thank you so much.